Well, I'm excited that I'm about to partake in fatherhood, a meeting that is in progress right now. You will hear a lot of background noise that will be more preparing us to get into the new conference for this spring. And we're talking about, that is, I'm one of the presenters for the Pimp-proof parenting, what that is, Daughters Lives Matter, I apologize, Pimp-proofing workshop that I'm a part of. And so I pray that you'll enjoy, or you'll be blessed, more to say, based on what you will hear today. I'm going to be talking about some stats in regards to same-sex dating, silent violence epidemic, that we don't talk about the domestic violence in the same sex. God bless you. I pray that we'll be anything else you hear, it will be the gathering and preparing for this particular workshop that I am presenting in same-sex violence. Well, hello there. I'm not sure if, I guess I need to get started now, I suppose. I believe maybe I'm getting prepared. I'm not sure. But anyway, unmute. Well, hello there. I believe that I have started. And so I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be waiting or talking to someone before, but I'm excited about being a part of this wonderful opportunity to share in regards to this workshop, Pimp Proofing. Hi there, Jessica. Are you getting me ready?
I think so.
Okay, because I was talking. I didn't know if it was time for me to get started now. Wait, I will wait for you.
Okay. Hi, ladies. How y'all doing?
Hi there.
Glasses or not, darling? I can actually see something now, but... Oh, my gosh. Well, I have to wear mine. I wish that I didn't, so again, what's happening?
I hope that you all can hear.
I guess we're leaving breakout room.
I don't know. The breakout says 1 second. Okay. Bear with us. We're getting ready now.
Just really quickly, I just got a new computer. I got a Mac, and I don't know. Well, when we went in the breakout room, when I tried to screen share, I couldn't pull up my presentation.
There's a moment of silence as we're preparing. We have some technical difficulties right now. Didn't want to leave you on mute too long, but just wanted to make sure you know that we are working, trying to get me into my room where my session is going to be held. Please bear with us. I'm trusting that we will get that in there so you can hear this message. It is so necessary for the times that we are in. So please bear with us as we're working on getting the workshop set up. I am a part of, once again, I'm one of the presenters for the Daughters Lives Matter organization, where they have a specific part of that that's called Pimp Proofing Daughters. And so I am so excited about it. So y'all pray for us that they get it through so that we can hear. So any background noise you hear now, that is us talking, trying to get me into the break room so I can do my presentation. So please stay tuned. You want to get your pen and pad ready so that you can take some notes. Okay, I hope you can hear me because I got the phone down so it won't be up on the screen while I'm presenting. Okay, trying to record it so everybody can get the information. Okay, well, it looks like I'm getting some feedback here. Okay, so please bear with us. Okay.
So I'm going to, I need to just go on this anyway.
One moment. Okay, they're letting the attendees in now, and hopefully you'll be able to hear everything shortly. I hope you can hear it. It sounds so low. I don't know if you can hear that music or not. Let me see if I can set it up closer. Oh, it's a little low. You won't hear it, I suppose.
Why are we
Matter assembled this incredible lineup of speakers from as far away as the UK. We are here today because we have seen firsthand the trauma and utter devastation that shows up in the statistics for women and girls who have not been taught the game by their father or father figures. The number of women who have been sexually assaulted, in domestic violence situations, trafficked, and more is utterly devastating and has to change. In this society, it is no longer acceptable. So we are in the Daughters Lives Matter is in the trauma reduction business. And by partnering with us today, you have ensured that we are going to be able to equip fathers and others to make sure that the daughters of the world get somewhere. That's why we're here. Before we get started, I need to do a little bit of housekeeping. Please remain on mute unless you are asked to take yourself off mute for the question and answer period. The mute button is down on the lower left. There's a line through it in red when you're on mute. Also, we encourage everyone to use speaker view so that you'll just see the speaker when they're speaking and it'll minimize distraction. Go up to the right-hand top corner, select view, and select speaker view. You can go ahead and do that now. There's also a link in the chat room. If in the chat, if someone is coming to your mind right now that you think could really benefit from this, please send that link to them so that they can join us. They can also go on the Daughters Lives Matter website and join us from there. Speakers and presenters usually feed off the energy of the room, but we know that over Zoom that can be hard to do. So I'm going to ask you to give them a few finger snaps or thumbs up to let them know that you're right with them, that they're making a good point, that you're in the room. And lastly, I want you to know that we've got you covered. Snacks and coffee are available at any time in your kitchen. And as far as the restroom facilities, they are, well, you know your house. So we're going to go ahead and get this workshop started. I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Lena Hansen. Lena is joining us all the way from the UK. It is currently 4:40 her time in the afternoon. A little bit about Lena. She was 3 years old when she and her family moved to Australia. While in Australia, her father lost his job and they lost their home. She attended 9 different government schools, which would be public schools for us. At the age of 8, she was the victim of molestation from a man who broke into her house, and her father found the 2 of them during the attack. At the age of 17, Lena left home and supported herself. And there is much more of the story that she is going to share. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome for Daughters Lives Matter, Miss Lena Hansen. Welcome, Lena.
Thank you very much, Tamara. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to just sort of put a different sort of spin on this and introduce this amazing lineup and just the first step in terms of taking control of things and putting things on the right track. And I think that you're all in exactly the right place. So I do actually have a...
The volume is low, so you won't be able to hear this particular speaker. Her name is Miss Lena Hansen. I hate that her sound is too low, but I'll still let it play.
The things that I'm going to be talking to you about today are being present, being you, and seeing her. But first of all, who am I? And I really appreciate that Tamara gave me a bit of a kick-off on that, but I think it's interesting how we see people. And one of the things that, if you look me up online, you might notice some things about me. You might notice that I went to Cambridge, that I was an international rower, that I was a senior executive. But the other story that you heard there was that at 8 years old, I was the subject of a home invasion, and it's really key to what I'm actually speaking about today and speaking to our participants in particular, is that was a very key moment in my life because my father was present. The only reason that I wasn't raped, or probably worse, and you can take your own imagination on that, is that my father was there. He found us. And that, I think, changed my life in some very, very powerful ways. At the age of 24, I was date raped. I was injured in that. When I was 27, I was left in the gutter, kicked very badly. And when I was 31, I was attacked by my boss, somebody that I'd known for over 10 years, and that I knew his son very well. I jumped out of a moving taxi to get away from him. The thing is, nobody is immune from that. But I think that the relationship that you build with your people, your parents, and your father in particular is incredibly important in that. So, as you heard from Tamara, my family actually arrived in Australia with $200 to their name, and as my father said, 2 suitcases, 2 kids, $200, and 1 wife, and they worked very hard. He lost his first job because the boss wanted to sleep with my mother, and as a result, my father said 12 state schools. I remember 9 state schools, and when I was younger, there was an accident that I broke my back, and I was in rehab for a long time, and as you can see there, I've actually got less hair than Terry, which I think is, does my hair look good in that one, Terry? I wonder. That's the second time around for cancer with me, and hopefully the last one. I'm getting a bit bored of it these days. But that's my father, and that's my sister, and that's him and his granddaughter. And those are very, very powerful relationships. And I think that it's really important to mention that my father isn't perfect. My father, not well educated, didn't go past high school. I don't even think he finished high school. I was at the age of 8. I was filling in forms for him and my mother. My mother didn't speak English when we got to Australia. I helped my mother do the shopping. And he's always been a heavy drinker, but he's never been a violent drinker. He's always been somebody that when he looked at me, and I think this is a really important thing, he had 2 things to say to me, and one of those was that after I was attacked, they asked me, they said, look, if you ever want to talk about that, we're here, but we won't force you. And I think one of the great things from a personal perspective is that he never treated me, and my mother never treated me as though I was broken, that I was never going to be somebody who didn't have a future anymore. They always saw the fact that I had hopes and talents and fears, and they were there for me, and I'm very grateful for that. The other side of it, that my parents, and one lesson that I learned from them, was that I was not less than the person in front of me. And if there was one lesson that I could give to you, was that you are not less than the person in front of you. So that is my one thing on that. You are in control of this journey, even though it's not a perfect one. So your power is that you be present, as my father was. You be you be authentic, and you see her. And we'll talk about that again. So we have spoken about what happened to me. We've spoken about the fact that my father was a role model, not a perfect one, but he shared his successes and his failures, and I was very grateful because I felt that I had a very clear idea of what adulthood was, and that he respected me enough to share his experiences with me, and I felt that very honored by that sharing, and that he could be himself with me. I was very proud of that. He was always a safe place. He was always somebody that I knew would be there. So I think that if my father gives anything, any sort of lesson, it was to give up being perfect for being authentic. I think there's a lot of pressure to be perfect, but it's not achievable. So being authentic is so much richer. So it is, we need to talk about that. There's the fact that it's unhealthy and unhelpful. And you need to understand, and one of the things that is from my background is that I'm a criminologist, and one of the things that I see a lot is that people have, there's a lot of impulse control problems, and please don't be proud. Be somebody who reaches out and gets help before you break. We all break, but there's just so much fantastic help out there, and I mean, you're in good company. So many people have done that. The final thing that I really want to share with you today, in just these last sort of minutes, is, and I'm going to actually quote Tamara on this because I think it was a really, really beautiful comment. She talked about the importance of reflecting back your daughter. And I love this picture because she is that kitten, and you can reflect back that lion. You reflect what she sees in your eyes. So I think that that's something to really bear in mind. Your daughter might be raped, she might be incarcerated, she might become an addict, but her future is not broken. My future was not broken by what happened to me, and my parents were and particularly my father's relationship was very important in that. She sees herself in your eyes, so you can reflect back the real her talents, her skills, her hopes. I was speaking to a gentleman last year. His daughter had been raped. He said he couldn't be in the room with her. He was so angry. And I said that he needed to stop thinking about himself and start thinking about her and being there for her, because she was still there. She wasn't broken. She hadn't left the building. She still had every talent, hope, skill that she had the day before. And he needed to reflect them back to her, so at this time, this difficult time, that she could remember that and see that strength in his eyes. And they are still doing very well, and she's in a good place now, and I hope that continues. So one of the things that, from my background, that I've been fortunate enough to run into people who've been doctors, PhDs, diplomats, professors. I've even spoken to the odd Prime Minister. And there is one common fact with every single powerful woman that I've met in my life, is that they have a very strong relationship with their father. Not always an easy one, but a respectful one where they actually communicated. So please step up and become the foundation of their castle. Be that powerful person in their life. I hope that is something that you can take forward from this. So being present, being you and seeing her, and from everything in the UK, I also want to finalize on this note and say I really, really think this is a fantastic workshop here today, and please don't ever give up. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you so much. That was truly powerful, and we really appreciate you. Okay, folks, at this time, Jessica is going to begin to move all of you into breakout rooms where we have amazing presenters waiting to share with you. And if at any time you're feeling triggered or you need some support, all you need to do is hit the leave room at the bottom right-hand corner. You'll see it'll say leave breakout room. You'll hit leave breakout room. It'll bring you back to the main session. And Jessica will get you over to Inda Jones, who will be waiting to offer you support, to listen in the emotional support room. So she will be there. If you accidentally hit the leave meeting button, just use the Zoom link you were provided to rejoin. All right, Jessica, work your magic.
Hi there.
Yeah, so folks are landing in your room. How are you doing?
I am good.
Amazing. As a host, I'm going to be popping in and out, but your attendees are in the room, so looking forward to what you have to share.
All right, well, I'm getting ready to get started now. I got my time set. Well, I'm excited to be here today, to say the least. I want to share really quickly because I want it to be interactive since I do not have a screen to share, but I do want to share some very, very important information. And one of the things I want to do is among many, with my short time, I want to thank the Daughters Lives Matter group. I think they've done an excellent thing pulling this together, because this type of work is a lot of work, and I want to commend you all on doing a great job. I want to jump right into my message that I'm talking about here, same-sex violence. It is an epidemic that is never, ever talked about as much as it needs to be talked about. As far as my bio and all that is concerned, I believe that you can get that from the coordinators of this particular workshop, but I want to get into our message since I do want to hear from you, and prayerfully you'll be able to give me some questions that may prompt you to talk about some solutions, and I'd like to call them active, practical solutions that we need to try to come together as partners in helping to protect our girls, and we might as well go ahead and add our boys. I'm going to talk about this particular subject, but as I begin this subject, I want to make sure everybody understands I've been doing counseling for 46 years this year, and I don't arrive here as I know everything. I don't arrive here as, any absolutes for anyone. But what I do arrive here as is understanding that life is real and things are happening, and we must begin to look at it through the lenses of realness. And so I wanted to get that out of the way. And also, I'm looking at my notes here. I want to make sure that we understand one of the thrusts that I am in, that I'm talking about here, is not just from, me reading something. It is from experience. It is from cases. It is from in my own home. I'm a survivor of family violence. I came from a large family of 12, and so and I am the middle child, and I experienced quite a few things. But I had two brothers who have died. They lived a gay lifestyle, and both of them are dead behind HIV and AIDS and a whole lot of other things that I may share some stats here that I'm focusing on, the girls, but teens, of course. But I want to hit the girls because the epidemic has grown quite big. And some of the stats that you hear that I'm talking about here may be blanket because of the fact that as so goeth the adult, so goeth the kid. But Matthew 25:40 talks about the least of them. I have an assignment and thrust in my life this year to really touch the populations that it seems very difficult to talk about, and that is the same-sex population. The churches want to shun them away. Even families are shooting them out of the home. Back in, I think, somewhere around 2007, or 2008, maybe later, I can't remember the exact date, but I wrote a book, Who Told You You're Gay? It became quite powerful because what it did, it allowed me to be able to talk to the parents about what you don't want to do and what you should be doing from my experience and living it with my brothers, what I saw the suffering emotionally would happen. And so I want to share now some of the things that, before I get out into it, too, I just cannot leave out that song. That song, it brought such great, I guess, an emotional touch to my heart, because I remember my brothers and I remember cases, and even those that I'm working with right now, who struggle with this silent thing of violence, who struggle with this silent thing of not wanting to let anybody know that I'm there or that I really want to come out. And so coming to sessions with me is a very difficult thing when you have young kids who are tormented and are considering suicide because of that. So that song really touched my heart. That song really brought tears to my eyes because, yes, we must be available. We must find ways. And so those that are listening to me, I pray that you got your pen and pad ready and that you don't just look at me but start thinking about some of the things that you want to ask me after I talk about these particulars that I want to point out today. And so I'm going to give you some stats, and I think it's important because we always say we stat it out. But as a survivor of family violence at 18 years old, and he blew out my face, I went through a lot. Thank God that I did not go into that area of crossing over with the same sex. But there was a lot of things that I did do the drugs, promiscuous, and a whole lot of different things that I believe that the Lord has anointed me to talk about here today in regards to the same-sex dating, this silent epidemic. And so why do I want to talk here is because pretty much what Terry gave us in our notes. It is because we got to get prepared as parents. We got to get prepared, especially as fathers, because so goeth the head, so goeth the body. The fathers have to understand their position, and I know they have learned quite a bit from here. But we got to help them, as Terry had put in his note, build more healthy father-daughter relationships. And in this particular program and this organization that they're doing, we need to be able to do this in a greater light with more men because that's what's missing. That's the part that's causing many of them to go on the other side. Not just the girls, even though I want to hit on the girls today, but the boys. The boys, you would be surprised of a whole lot of the stats today and counseling sessions that I have had with young men who would tell me that they've made a decision that they wanted to try what they call pecking, or I think it's something like that. No, pegging. Or they wanted to try to do this to see what's so good about it in regards to sex. But this is a very raw subject. This is a very touchy subject because we have a lot of people who don't want to talk these areas on the real when we have people who are dying in those areas. So I want to say this, because the majority of the domestic violence and all those issues in regards to fighting regarding teens, we focus on domestic violence with adults, of course, because we see most of that all the time, and it's rapid. I mean, it's constantly happening as we speak. But we don't talk enough about the area in regards to the same sex with children, and same sex, when I say children, because this is going on so increasingly, and even in elementary schools. I've had cases where young boys will come to me and tell me about boys wanting them to show them private parts and for them to do things like oral sex and things like that with them. These kids are tormented. These kids are going through a lot. And so as we look at this particular topic that I'm talking about, same sex, we have a lot of violence going on behind the scenes that's very, very silent, and there is an epidemic of it that we've got to look at closer and talk more about so that we can be very open with our girls to talk about things that we need to do that are preventive so that we can make sure that we look at the researchers, how they're showing us the stats, and how we as leaders and families, not just as parents, but those that are in the church, in the Christendom, that we need to understand our responsibility to understand that these are the least of them, as I talked about in Matthew 25 and 40. We have to also look at the least of them in this category that is going to hell in a handbasket while we have in all type of programs, okay? And so let's look at 9 particular stats that I want to talk to you about really quick that's in the LGBT community, that though we don't say that we have this issue going on with our teens as bad as it does in the adult, but it really, really is. Okay, so these stats, even though they may say women, we're talking about blanket period because, again, these are spiritual, okay? And many of these kids are I believe, as the Bible tells us in Psalm 51, these things are coming from the womb, the iniquity that's already been working in the mother of the child. So many of these issues have flowed over from generation to generation, as it was in my family as an incest survivor. And so I believe that many of the things that has happened to them are a result of that. But the first stat that talks about these quick stats that I'm giving, talking about domestic violence in this community, the first one says that 43.8% of lesbian women and 61.1% of bisexual women have experienced rape, physical violence, and are stalking by an intimate partner at some point in their lifetime, as opposed to 35% of heterosexual women. Now, I'm going to jump now, as I gave you that, I'm going to jump to the part as it relates to the teens, okay, and why it matters. It matters because in these relationships, we have so many who have found, as far as teens is concerned, have found someone that they think that they can have a relationship with, that they understand them. Many of the kids are testing each other out in regards to what is going on with them in their families, in their relationship as peers. And so we have to look at some of these things that I want to share as far as dating is concerned and teens. And so the next part of stat that I want to share here, and it comes from Love and Respect, these stats are limited, are not just limited to just violence, but we also need to know that it's also dealing with the same sex is what I want to point out. And so these are actually happening to those as young as under age 18. In high schools and in elementary schools, the elementary school is where the epidemic is beginning to grow for that reason. And so the dating-related violence at this age, which means that these girls or guys, because there's a wide range of emotion that they're going through, they learn about what to do based on what they see at home. And the stat says in 1 year, about 1.5 million American teens still in high school suffer from physical abuse at the hands of their partner, according to teen dating violence stats. And then a third of all American teenagers claim that they have been abused by a person they've dated, whether it's sexual, physical, verbal, or emotional abuse. So half of all the teenagers who are raped or assaulted, and I thought this was a good subject simply because we're in April, the month of sexual assault, these are raped or assaulted either sexually or physically. They will try to commit suicide. This is the reason why I think it's so important to talk about this, because we have so many of the teens today, according to the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, 8.5 million girls and 1.5 million boys were raped before they were the age of 18. Okay? So why is that so significant about same-sex dating? Well, what's so significant about it is because the dating statistics tells us that we not only have it in the high schools and elementary school, but it's in the colleges as well. And many of the young people who are leaving school today, many of the relationships where we got to pay attention to, and some of the slangs that are out there that we as parents don't understand in regards to same-sex relationships. We have girls who are looking very feminine, very, very girly, but they are in a relationship with the same sex. The parents are not aware that they're spending the night and having sex and doing what we call pegging, strapping on different things and doing different things with girls. Same thing with boys. And so we have to be very, very clear about one thing. Many of the girls today, they call them fish girls. These are girls that look very, very intimate. Very, very girly looking. And then we have the other ones who may be some of those girls who may be in the category that may be more domineering. These are the ones that they call the stud girls. Now, these are the ones that can really, really become violent if they have just one trigger of trauma that reminds them of rejection or betrayal of a last relationship, whether it was a male or a female. Same with the boys. And so we have got to prepare to look at some things that we need to do. One of the greatest things that I learned as a counselor and therapist in dealing with these populations, we have to listen to the sound or the cry of that missing factor in the child's heart. We can hear it very clearly, but many of us as parents, we get so exhausted and tired, we don't want to pay attention to that because we're so tired of going to the school. We're so tired of them standing in their room. We're so tired of this or that. But I want to hammer this because we've got so many of these kids who are killing themselves or cutting themselves because they want so much to be loved or want to be touched in some way that maybe it was from a violation or maybe it was from the rejection of the parent or the missing father. And so I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to open the floor up so I can get, because I want this to be interactive. I'm looking at my notes here to try to see what I'm not telling you so that we can kind of touch on some of this. One of the things I wanted to bring out and some of the things I'm hoping that we will grow from here today one of the things I wanted to make sure we understand that we have the opportunity. Okay, we have the opportunity to take what we hear here and take it to a practical sense, us as parents and professionals, to think about some new ways that we can bring some practical things to the table about helping each other as parents to help our children and those in our community. Because I believe that we should be a community for kids that we see doing things whether they're related to us or not. Because the kids are doing a lot of things very boldly today, and they don't care who see it. And this is going on even in the classrooms and the schools. And so I think about every day when you look about that in the emergency room, we have kids that are coming. And the stats are telling us that in the stats that I found, these stats you can go and look at, it comes from the Act for Youth stats. You can go there on their website and find these stats. It says that every day about 360 teens are treated in the emergency room. And a lot of them are getting hurt. They claim that they fell and all this stuff, but they're actually getting beat up by what we call the butch, in the old day, we call it the butch, or we call it the one now, we call it the stud. They get all kind of names, especially in the LGBTQ community. There's a lot of names they call these, so we have to get educated about that. That's a whole other class that I do up the road. But I'm thinking that it's important for us to look at this for just a minute, for us to think about how every day the emergency rooms. I was in the emergency room one day for myself, and I can clearly see that the young girl was dealing with same-sex struggle. And the parent was saying, well, how did you hurt your hand? Well, I believe that the girl probably got into it with the girl and twisted her hand from my own having the eye of the seer in the prophetic realm. But I also believe that we need to understand that these stats are showing us that homicide is also the third leading cause of death among these teens. They do get killed. And we got a lot of them are missing because they don't want, one of the main reasons why they don't want them to tell the parents, they don't want them to tell their peers that I've been sleeping with you. I hope y'all are hearing me. Because they don't want nobody to know about what has happened in that relationship, or they threaten them that they're going to tell. Okay, my brothers would come and tell me about what their lovers had done to them because they decided that they didn't want to be with them no more and they got somebody new. This same stuff that's going on. They were young boys at the time, and this went on into their adult life. They died a very young life with HIV around their 40s. I think it's important that we understand that HIV is rampant also with all these different chlamydias and all kind of other diseases that I only have names for and acronyms for, because these kids are putting these things in their mouth, okay? We need to understand that this same-sex violence is because of that. Many of them don't want to do the oral sex. Many of them don't want to do the anal sex. But they become violent because they figure, I thought I was just going to be your girl. I thought I was going to be your boy. But it gets violent when maybe that has went there and the soul tie has been connected, and now they are becoming violent, okay? It also says that female teens are more likely than males to experience 3 or more types of violence, as are sexual minority teens compared to their heterosexual partners. So look at the violence is the second thing. It says that violence can impact the school attendance. Okay, it's very important for you to know that because many of them are skipping school because they don't want to face that girl that they fear that they threaten to tell. So they skip school or they wind up trying to self-medicate because of this violence. But here's the clincher that I thought we need to make sure we talk about here in this session. We've got, because of COVID, we've got a whole lot of hidden things in regards to not being able to be with that person, or the Internet, Facebook, and so many other areas of social networks that they're sexting and doing these things on pictures and things like that, that now they find out that they got a picture of somebody else. And so now they're mad that you showed that picture, and now we got someone who now want to possibly kill that person or find a way to get harm to them. So during the COVID time, we have had online bullying. We have had threats. We've had everything that you can name. Because remember, it's not all the time physical. It can become very emotional. And so we want to look at how we can do that. We're going to look at some of the risk factors really quick, and then I'm going to open up the call to see if anybody can ask any questions pertaining to a couple of things I would like us to be practical about in the discussion. So there are teens who experience violence, have several health conditions that are risk factors that we need to pay attention to, some signals. They miss school. I talk about that, about safety concerns.
They have low academic grades. Okay, they begin to carry weapons, and we see we're losing a lot of kids because they're finding a way to get weapons to hurt one another. You know, that's why this is such a critical thing, because we see it clearly with a woman and a man fighting it, or the girl quits the guy. But because it's same sex, it takes a whole lot of emotional trauma for someone to want to let that come out when they haven't decided to come out to their own parents. Okay, so you're going to go and tell the school, you're going to go and tell my family that I had sex with you, or my peers. They not, and actually, same-sex violence is horrific, I believe, because it is such an emotional tearing in the spirit that they're like, you don't like me, my parent, I got to tell them, now everybody's rejecting me, you're going to die. Okay? So I believe they become just as vicious as any other heterosexual violence, and we got to pay attention to that. They carry the weapon. Of course, they have suicidal thoughts and behaviors. They have risky sexual behaviors. I talk about that down here in Houston. We've had stats, I think it's up in Sugarland, where when they did testing on the kids, almost half of those kids in there had chlamydia in their mouths because of oral sex. Okay? And so we got to look at, because of violence going on today, many of them are forced to do the oral sex if you say you love me. They're forced to do the anal sex if you say you love me. Or they're testing it out to prove that they're not afraid to show their love. And then, of course, overweight, obesity. You see that to happen. Or underweight, okay, because many of them don't want to eat because they feel like they're not going to look a certain way. They feel they have sadness and hopelessness all the time in the room, all the time on the phone, all the time arguing. And if you pay attention, many of them are arguing, and you know they think they're just getting into an argument with their friend because it's their girl. Maybe they got a girl fight again. No. The stats have proven that we've got to pay attention to some of these things that are happening. Now, among these, I want to make sure we bring out that typically because these are issues, like I said before, are attractions between heterosexual, parents are blindsided because many of the girls, and hopefully I get a chance to give you all a link later on about some of the books and stuff that I've written on these matters, but many of the girls who have made a decision that they have, these are my buddies for a long time, and now they become very intimate in this place of relationship that it got off because maybe something happened. Maybe one of them was sexually abused or violated, and I've had cases where these girls were violated by their own parents that had sex with them. So that put that seed in them to venture with their own friends. And then they become very connected like that, and parents are thinking that because they're together all the time, they just love each other. They grew up as kids. They still been friends all the time, but they've been sleeping with each other as they spend the night. Okay? And so we have violations going on, or we have choices being made because of what has happened to them. And so we need to look at that. Now, among youth between 18 and 19, 82% of these women would describe themselves, of course, attracted only to the opposite sex, 9% mostly to the opposite sex, 5% equally to both, okay, and 1% mostly to the same sex, okay, and then 1% only to the same sex, and then one was unsure when they did these stats that were coming from the CDC. Now, I want to bring out one question that I have for everybody. Do you believe that this could possibly be going on? And what do you have, or have you had any experience about this, or do you have any practical solutions that you might want to bring to the table that we can look at for preventive planning? That's what I want to know from those that are here. I want to see if this is a good time for me to bring this an open time to ask questions or not. I just like to know because, we've got a lot of stuff going on in regards to not dating. They don't have to be in the LGBT community to be out as gay. They're already out among one another. And so we need to make sure that we talk about some safety planning. I'm going to stop right there. Is there any questions or comments anybody have for me? But I just want to see if I can get a group talk to see if anybody can give me some solutions. We're not going to ever have 100 solutions. But I think between us, we should be able to have some planning as a group table talk. We should be able to ask each other questions or propose some things that we can all recognize and look at with this sensitive subject. I'm opening the floor now. Anybody? You can take yourself off mute, or is my administrator here? I don't know. Can anybody take themselves off mute and talk to me or chat to me? I don't hear anybody saying nothing. On such and such and such. Hi there.
I'm Maria, and I just find this totally fascinating and very, very powerful. I've never had any history of that going on in my life. I'm very fortunate to have a really close-knit family.
Yes.
But I'm here to gain the knowledge and the wisdom to have the information for I do have a daughter and who has a grandson, and to be aware, to even be more aware of what's going on. So that's why I'm here, and I do believe that this is happening. What you're saying, I mean, I just always keep my eyes open, and I'm always observing what is going on with children and kids, and I just want to be able to have some skill sets.
Yes.
If I see something, that to be able to help, to say a word or something like that. You know, I'm an artist, so but I'm very sensitive
yes.
to people's emotions and their behaviors and things like that. So I'm here to gain knowledge of how I can help in some way.
Awesome. That is so good, and that is so important. You said the key word, to be sensitive, you know, because we do have to be very sensitive to this type. And we're grandparents, because I've got 5 granddaughters, so you know my knees get raw. But I am not going to let the devil have their lives. We have to pay attention. So, and because a lot of things, they call it fad, or they're just going through this little change. But we got to pay attention to those little fads.
Right. It was interesting. I have a girl that does my hair, and I knew she never talked about her background with me, but I knew something had happened. And then just one day she was, doing my hair, and she told me that she had come from her mother just gave her away. At a young age, she said she didn't want her anymore. I think she was about 4 years old, and just threw her to the foster care system, and she had been in home. And so I knew that there was something sometimes in her behavior that was a little bit off. And so what you're saying is absolutely true. I didn't know what it was, but I knew something had happened. And I think that those of us that are listening really have to pay attention to our intuition and watch and maybe just open up a conversation about that if we can. But she happened to tell me what had happened to her. She's a woman now, but, you know, it was very powerful, very powerful.
Oh, my Lord. That is so real. Thank you for sharing that, because that is one of the triggers. Something happened. You know, we need to quit saying that. I know you all have heard that cliche, what's wrong with you? But we need to realize there's something happened. We need to start asking the question, what happened to you, not what's the matter with you.
Right.
What happened to you, so we can see what did really happen. If my mother had asked me what happened to you because she saw I just clammed up and wouldn't talk and stayed in my room, well, because my brother was incesting me. And it looked like to me when I told her, she just took it all as, you know, oh, well, here you go. I have to have somebody here to watch y'all. It was 12 of us, but he was watching all right. But thank God for deliverance. Hi there. Is anyone else?
Hi, Dr. Sandy. How are you?
Hi there.
Okay, great. First of all, this has been amazing. I'm sorry I didn't get all of it, but this is an amazing opportunity for increase and expansion of knowledge. And I disagree with everything you shared. I'm Dr. Nicole.
Hi there.
Hello. And I can see for such a time as this that this conference is really needed.
Yeah.
And it's needed on a grander scale.
That's correct.
Because so many people are misinformed about what's happening in our children's
That's
lives.
right.
And I think it's great that the element of same-sex abuse was added.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you said something that caught my attention about how the soul ties with this type of spirit has a lot of our children submissive.
That's right.
In passivity to this, because some of them don't feel like they have options.
That's right.
And because of the lack of love at home.
That's right.
And unfortunately, people, even in the church, don't want to acknowledge that abuse exists.
That's right.
But to be fair, sometimes, Dr. Sandy, people don't want to acknowledge it because they suffered abuse and trauma, and they're still dealing with the trauma. So in order to help someone else through the trauma, whether it be their daughter, their son, or whomever it is, for them to have to confront their own trauma.
Right.
So I just think that prevention education, I'm also an educator. My organization is Resuscitate Inc.
Wow.
And we're breaking the silence to break the cycle of child sexual abuse.
Yes.
And it's trauma. So we provide incubators for adults who are still dealing with the trauma.
Yes.
To help them overcome that. So I just value what you all have provided on today. And I just encourage everyone to take this information and run with it, because I really believe that God is creating thunder in the earth realm, so that emotional, because the Bible talks about, since we're Christians, I hope I can say that, but some of us, that he was above all things that we prosper and be in health as our soul.
That's correct.
And our souls encompass our wills, our minds, our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't be so spiritual and caught up here to where our souls are so fragmented.
That's correct.
But the Holy Spirit can heal our souls.
That's right.
So I just believe that God is calling forth reagents in the system right now today, like yourself and many others here, to actually begin to help people heal in their souls.
That is right.
So that they can truly prosper.
That's
so
awesome.
I just, I commend this platform. I love it. I will be connecting. Thank the woman of God who actually turned me on to what was going on today.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of multitasking, but I wanted to make sure that I joined the end and, was able to access that information.
Awesome.
So thank you all. Love the topic. I'm very passionate about change, and especially protecting our children.
Yes, Lord.
And educating our adults.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Exactly.
Right. To help protect our
Take
children.
responsibility. That's right.
If we are not properly informed, then we won't be able to
do
what we need to do. But I'm going to finish on this. There was a time, I'm back from the era when they said, it takes a village to raise a child. But it takes a whole village, a WHOLE.
That's correct.
Village to raise whole children.
That's right.
So if the village is broken, if the village is perverted, if the village is contaminated and fragmented, these are the children that we're going to raise.
That's right.
So I just thank God for you all. I thank God for this platform.
I appreciate
and I'm looking forward to connecting with you all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, we're running down to my last 15 minutes because I don't know how their actions are. This is awesome that you came in and made that comment. Huh?
How do we get your book?
Let me show you these resources really quick, and I'm gonna want to jump back because I got to give you some more solutions. Okay. This is my story. Too bad it wasn't a dream. This is the 12-gauge shotgun at close range. That's my high school picture there. Too bad it wasn't a dream. Now, this book here is my story telling everything about the incest and my life of being shot and surviving it. Okay. This is the one. Who Told You Gay? All my books, you can go to Amazon.com and just type in Dr. Sandy Murphy books, and you will find these. This is Who Told You You're Gay? And so I talk about, will I go to hell if I'm gay? Am I attracted to the same sex? I talk a lot to parents in here and what's happening because I shared about my brother's and my mother's experience. This one, people don't pay attention to it, but what it really does is help the parent. Because, like I said, I have parents who have been there, and for some reason that devil tells them to have sex with their own children or to, do things to them, both men and women. It's called Risky Residue, Same-Sex Lifestyle, Risk Awareness Guide. And so it talks about the other side of covering up and coming out. And so many of the young girls, you can see their holding hands, they are trying to come out, but they're covering up at the same time the things, the struggle, the soul tie, the things that's keeping them bound. And so it has a necessity in there to talk about the things that you could be having residue about, okay? You know, with the voice, you know, the hands for the guys, the whole nine. But what it does is let you know that these things, too, shall pass. But we have to make sure that we get those residues out of our soulish realm so that we can grow. And then this is one that's very popular, opening the eyes of silly women, okay? Talk about what women, young girls do to keep bringing in these bad relationships and soul ties. And, of course, I didn't even put the other one here. Let me see if I got the other one. I don't think I have it here. Yeah, I do. Souls tied to devil dream lovers. Souls tied to devil dream lovers. That one they'll talk about the monogram that women have really caused themselves to be with relationships, whether it's male or female, and their soul is tied up and bound, and they seem not to be able to break free. And many of that is because they have made allegiance with incubus or succubus, okay? And then why I can't trust you, okay? This kind of talk about the element of trust and what's going on today, where I'm going to give you some nuggets in just a few minutes about some things that we need to consider in regard to trust, trusting people with our children, trusting relationships for our own lives as adults. And so we got to pay attention to trust. And this one right here is the workbook that comes, flip side of it, trust recovery. Many people have been traumatized so much, and so in here it's a workbook, and it talks about past, present, future, inner healing, you know. And in this session, I talk about what you did and didn't say, okay? Because a lot of us are saying stuff even to our children, calling them faggots and punks, and what you said and what you didn't say that caused me to be where I'm at today, and what you did, okay? So I want to get into that. You can go to, like I said, Amazon.com and type in Dr. Sandy Murphy, and you'll find I got about 30-some books there, and you can choose out of those whichever one you feel will be good for your ministry or your own personal life. And so I want to get back to this really quick and prayerfully. You all can shed some light, and if you want to do that after this session, that you can give others that are running this conference about some things that you would like possibly for us to bring out even the more in regards to this subject and all those that you're going to be hearing today. And so I think it's important for us to give feedback so that then we can know how to make it even better for you. So one of the things I want to make sure that you understand, we got to be involved. That's number one. We got to be involved, and we got to make sure that we show the interest on the day-to-day lives. I hope you're writing this down, on their day-to-day lives, not just, the girls. Even though the girl epidemic is really, really big today, and it's just horrific how it's growing in the schools and everywhere else. We have got to look at showing the interest. We've got to ask them questions about their day and see what's going on. We've got to get to know the people who's in their lives. That's number two. Get to know who it is in their lives, okay? Get to know them, who they're spending the time with. You know, get them to come over. If you see them hang with the same girl all the time, the same girl, you should be able to see some signs. You know, you should be able to see some things with the holding the hands and want to spend the night all the time. You should be able to pay attention to some signs. And many of these are scared to break free. You need to see who is actually giving the care of your children, where you're leaving them. Because remember, just because my kids sharing some horrific things with me since they become adults about what I thought was cool at these people's houses, and they laugh about it now and say, you were so protected, mama. Now, they say, but we were doing a whole bunch of things because we couldn't do nothing at home. Nobody let nobody come over in there. So when you let us out, we were able to go and do these things that you couldn't imagine what we were doing in there. And so we need to talk about and just go ahead and make some demands about what you're allowing them to look at. Too many free and loose houses today. As she said today, it takes a whole, W-H-O-L-E, a whole community for us to be able to get, the family and or these children to some wholeness, from the trauma that they experience silently, that they're being abused by the same sex, or people that they are at family houses or friends' houses where their aunts or their cousins or their friends call them hoes and bees and calling them out of their names and, oh, you a faggot. We got to be very, very careful. Because I had to approach a woman in my daughter's teen years where her friend's mother was instead of calling her a bee and a hoe. I said, the devil is a lie. So I had to go over there and confront this woman in a very nice, godly way. I don't call my daughter out her name, and I'm not going to give you any opportunity. We need to make sure that we look at what's going on in the media, who's they're having a relationship with and spending the night over, and know the warning signs, Become familiar with some of these signs of abuse that I gave you a few minutes ago. And we need to make sure that we encourage them to speak up and not be afraid, okay? Encourage them to speak up. Make sure they know that you are available. My kids knew I was available, but many times the kids don't want to hurt us. So they don't want to share with you what's really going on. One of the kids in my case now, they don't want to share anything because they figure if the mom knows that they actually was with another boy, it would make her not feel like he's a good boy because someone tricked them into doing anal sex. We need to understand, okay, that these are real situations that are going on violently, pressuring them, okay, because we don't have our eyes where the blind side is. We're too looking at how good they're doing in school, how close they are with their friends, how quiet it seems that they don't give you no problem. Those are the ones you better be looking in real deep and staying in that room that's not, that's not showing you anything but what you showed all of a sudden. Suddenly grades are going down. They don't want to go to school no more, okay? And then finally, I want to say on encouraging them to speak up because it's not too late. Violence can be prevented if we will work on some things that we need to be doing as parents and as fathers. So teach your child about boundaries, okay? Teach them to make sure they understand that they have a right for nobody not to touch them, hit them, force them, none of these things. Teach them, to make sure that all this tickling and playing around with me and all of a sudden a grown person want to tickle you all the time under your arm, that's because they want to feel the breast. Or tickling you on your leg because they're trying to get your vagina area. We need to look at the attacks that many of the kids are having to fight their way out of situations because we're not paying attention, okay? So teach them about it. You teach your child how to talk about their bodies. This is very, very important for us to do that we're way late on. Teaching the girls to talk about why you shouldn't be mashing your breast in to feel like that this is the way you don't want to look at your breast or look at your nipples. You need to know that that's a sign that they're trying to bind their breasts. I don't want to preach. Every time I think about this, it just drives me up the wall because parents don't pay attention to these things that are going on that are simple signs. They're mashing their breasts in because they don't want to look feminine. Be available, okay? Be available means set aside the time, do girl day, do boy, son, daddy day, do whatever you got to do that you know you're already doing. You better add some of these things that I'm talking to you about right now to it. Let them know that you won't get in trouble. I hope you're writing these down because I haven't lost count. My time is winding up. But let them know that they won't get in trouble, that you still love them. I'm here for you, no matter what. I need to know what's hurting you or who's hurting you. What do you feel ashamed about? Do you have any fear? Okay, I'm not gonna do anything. You just tell me what I need to do to make you feel comfortable or feel at peace. And many of these kids won't tell you. They just figure, I'm no good, I'm not worth no more, and they blow their brains out. We have got to get into talking more about it and give them the chance to raise new topics. That's another area. Let them raise up something that you feel like is uncomfortable for you. You need to make sure that you give them the opportunity to talk to you about. So I want to give you the plan that I think is really good, that website I gave you earlier on youth. You need to make sure that you look at the plan. The plan is practical, okay? Don't just talk it, walk it. So the plan is make sure plan stands for permission, location, activity, names and numbers. And this means these names and numbers mean people that you know and people especially that they hang out with. Because so anytime they go anywhere, or anytime they get new relationships, or anytime they get very secretive about their relationship, it's time to plan, okay? So you want to make sure that you look at the private parts about that planning, the sacred and secret stuff, the unsafe secret things that they keep saying that they're okay about, the safe touch. My time is already winding down. The unsafe touch, the software stuff, these networks that they're connecting to that's silent, the secret gauges, these things that they don't want you to find out that they're doing, these secret gauges, these secret codes that they're doing, the stranger stuff that all of a sudden that they say that they've been knowing them and you never met them in your entire life, but they want you to let them go out with them because they go to their school, and we got to look at that twisted adult relationship, the one you wonder why they always want to spend time with your child because they probably having sex with them. Across the globe, we see that happening in the schools where the teachers are having sex with kids and sending violent messages to them that they better not tell. Well, my time is up. I pray that this was a good session for you. I pray that you all will be able to make sure you let me know how I can give you any other information. Okay? Talk to you soon. We're back to our breakout session. We're leaving our breakout session now. We're back to the main room now. And so I'm going to go ahead and shut this off, but I wanted to make sure I got my session in here. I pray that it blessed you all, and I pray that something was said here that would help a family to get where they need to go, and that it will help you to be able, to be more present and more available in the lives of those who you may be counseling, or those that God has put to your hand to coach, or whether it's a teenager who wants more attention and maybe they're trying to find it in the same sex, or they feel that they're lost and don't know what to do in regards to this challenge that they're dealing with in their flesh. And I think it's important also that we recognize some of the stats that I pointed out here, because remember, just because the majority of the domestic violence awareness movement is focusing only on that, the heterosexual, it does not mean that these relationships in the kids or in the elementary schools and the things that we see all of a sudden, they're largely left out because they don't think about the same sex as violent. They don't think about the same sex as being tormenting or being abusive or being, controlled or manipulated to being with another friend because she becomes jealous or because she becomes, feeling rejected. So I just want to bring that out, and I pray that this has been a blessing to you. Like I said before, my session has ended. I hope that you all will look at some of those areas that we need to cover, and I didn't even get to cover some of the areas that I think that is important for us to look at is the social barriers, where the domestic violence versus the same-sex violence. The social barrier is simply that people don't believe that it's happening. And that's one of the reasons why I know that my mandate to work on helping families become more aware is so important to me. There's a phobia, people call it homophobia. They can call it whatever they want, but I'm not homophobic. I love the gay and lesbian population because I am mandated to love as a Christian. I also want to say the lack of training, the lack of awareness among families is the main reason why I am doing what I am doing. Fear that airing this problem out a lot of times, parents and siblings and others feel like it's too biased or it's too much information or it's too shameful. But I want you to know that as long as we be quiet, as long as we don't open our mouths and share, we are really opening gateways to say that our children don't matter. That doesn't matter to you. What matters is them finishing their school stuff, or what matters to you is that they look more attractive in what they do in sports and things like that. So I got to go. We're moving back into the next session that's going on now. God bless you. We'll talk soon.